Hey everyone, and welcome to another video. I am Simply G, and this is going to be a first impressions video on my thoughts, feelings, opinions on a series that I've been reading recently, usually one that's come out fairly recently, and today I'm going to be talking about Volume 1 of Chainsaw Man by Tatsuki Fujimoto. This is an ongoing Shonen Jump series, started in 2018. Currently only one volume in print from Viz, but you can read the entirety of the series thanks to Viz's Shonen Jump app if you are in one of the regions that covers, and current chapters on Manga Plus worldwide, aside from the very few countries that it does not cover. So this is a horror comedy action series following a teenage boy called Denji who kind of gets into some trouble. He lives in a world where there are devils and that cause a lot of trouble, eat people and, do bad things as per expected. But Denji has a very close friend, pet, dog chainsaw devil that he has befriended called Pochita. And after Denji is brutally murdered, he kind of forms a pact with Pochita, giving him a second chance at life and becoming the titular Chainsaw Man, which you can see he's got like a chainsaw head and arms, but he can change back to just looking like a normal human, which is pretty common for human-devil hybrids. Because of his newfound power, he is brought into a human security force who are basically founded to fight devils, to stop them and destroy them, led by a young woman called Makima, and he becomes the underling / partner to a very cynical and generally hopeless guy called Aki, and another devil, I think the blood devil, Power. So, okay. So, this is not a unknown series. I think a lot of people know of Chainsaw Man, like people typically know the general idea, the general gist. They've heard of all of the current Shonen Jump stuff, normally. And this is one that has definitely gained a lot of popularity over the years, definitely since being available in the Jump app. And this is like with Tatsuki Fujimoto's previous work, Fire Punch, which is in itself a very divisive, very overtly kind of dumb, stupid, and shockingly like in your face story. Chainsaw Man is that as well. It's a little toned back, a little bit toned back comparatively to Fire Punch, because this is in Jump. It is a shonen series, but there's violence, gore, sexual themes, and sexual stuff generally. And the it's I have so okay. I've read all of Fire Punch. I do not own it, but you can, if you have a Shonen Jump subscription, you can read the entirety of the series on Viz's website. It's too violent, too gory, not age appropriate for the app itself, but you can read the entire 8 volumes on their website. Highly recommend it if you are wanting to try the series rather than just jumping into buying that series, because, I mean, Fujimoto, if nothing else, I dislike the fact that Fujimoto, especially early on in the series, both series, kind of relies on shock value to make his series memorable, because there's so much good in the series that it shouldn't need that, but at the same time it also helps build the gritty, depressing, terrible reality of the setting for his series. So Fire Punch has, like, the first volume, it has cannibalism, rape and sexual assault and human trafficking and pedophilia and incest and a whole bunch of not very nice things, right? It's very in your face, very shocking, very I don't want to say edgy for the sake of edge, because it does serve a purpose, but it's not one that's super easy to recommend, right? If any of those things weird you out, or bestiality also, if any of those things are like, oh no, yeah, not gonna be for you. And I feel that it's sad that Fujimoto relies on a lot of that stuff early on to make a point about the setting and the world and where these characters inhabit as well. It kind of means that people drop off the series very quickly, very soon, understandably, because those are not themes that are super fun or comfortable to read about. But it does reward those who either don't mind about those things, understand that it's fiction, and aren't really that squeamish about those things, or are able to power through it, understand its purpose in the story, and enjoy the series for what it actually is once it's established itself past that point. And Fire Punch always will have problematic elements like those themes that I mentioned earlier on throughout the entirety of the series. And it's this series and Fire Punch is like dumb action, just bad people making bad choices, but also in an understandably human way. And it's not until you really get into the series, especially like the halfway point, both for Fire Punch and for this one, that you understand what Fujimoto is doing. So, as you may tell, I have actually read all of Chainsaw Man up until this point. This isn't quite a first impressions video, as it were, but I did want to talk about this series, and for all of the faults, for all of the problems, for all of the uncomfort that Fujimoto puts into his series, there is, and for as dumb and like aware of how dumb it is series that Fujimoto makes, it's also really, really good at what it does. It does have a larger message and some really human and poignant themes about place and humanity and our role in the cycle of life. And also, okay, Chainsaw Man and Fire Punch, they have pretty big twists. There's a lot to really engage yourself with if you can get over the initial, like, discomfort. And as I said, Chainsaw Man isn't nearly as in your face with the shocking themes as Fire Punch. This is a jump manga. There's still violence, there's still boobs, there's still, like, a terrible things going on, but there isn't the incest, the bestiality, the pedophilia, etc. and cannibalism of Fire Punch. So if that put you off, try this one. It's not as bad, it's not as in your face, for understandable reasons. It's in a much more mainstream magazine. I really grew to love this series a lot. Denji is a pretty understandable protagonist, even more so in that he knows that he's dumb, but that doesn't invalidate who he is and who he wants to be and his goals. I think that's really likable and really understandable. So both this and Fire Punch, Fujimoto has such a cinematic art style. It's almost like you're reading a film, and it would be like, I wouldn't want a film adaptation of either of his manga, but and you can see in sort of one of the earlier chapters Fujimoto, well, both series, has a real love for film, and you can see that through his series, not only in his characters, but in the actual paneling, in the art movement. It's an incredibly interesting experience, and it's really, really wonderful. You really, submerge yourself in the setting, and it's captivating. It's captivating, and you could see how easily either of his series would be to adapt to the screen. Not that I don't know too many directors who'd be too keen to adapt Fire Punch, but it would be really interesting. You could make a shot-for-shot remake, and it feel like this is a cinematic release. This is a Hollywood film or a Japanese studio film. Like, it's really interesting. I think that Denji is a really likable character, despite not making good choices, despite not being smart, despite just impulsively going after the things that he wants, because he's never had any opportunity to do so up until this point. Power is a really wonderful character, and Aki, all of the cast, there's a huge element in some manga where the extras cast is superfluous because they are going to die. Attack on Titan is definitely one of those titles, and to a lesser extent Chainsaw Man is as well. But the difference is that all of the characters who are introduced just to die are themselves fully fledged characters. We don't see a lot of them prior to their death, and we don't get a full backstory on each and every single one of them, but there's enough side characters here, and Fujimoto is able to grab your attention and hook you with that humanity so quickly that you do actually feel like these are people, that this situation is more than just nameless faces getting slaughtered to raise the stakes and to, make it a more violent or whatever series. Chainsaw Man has been said to be one of the best things in Jump right now. There's a lot of very good series in Jump. There's also some other not great series that we're not going to talk about. But overall, I would agree that this is, if not one of the best, one of the most interesting, one of the most unique series in Jump currently, and it's also ending very soon. It feels like we have hit the peak of the finale, and it's gonna wrap up sooner rather than later. So, like with Fire Punch, this is not going to be a super long series, 10, maybe 11 volumes at most. I would definitely encourage you to try the series either via the app Manga Plus or Shonen Jump, whichever you prefer. If you're not inherently wanting to jump into the print release of the series, especially if you were burned by a Fire Punch in the past, but it is one that I think you should give a shot, and like with Fire Punch, it is one that takes a little while to establish itself, to be perhaps totally clear on what it's trying to do and why it's doing the things that it does. Again, I do find that it's generally unfortunate that Fujimoto thus far has relied so much on shock value to capture the attention and to build his worlds, but at the same time he does it very well, and it is purposeful. It's not just shock value for the sake of shock value, or if it is, you know that it is, and he knows that it is. He doesn't pretend like it's some larger, brilliant, thematic message that is, so amazing, big brain. Like, you have to be, if you don't understand it, or if you think that it's crude and dumb, then you're the one who's just crude and dumb because you're not getting the joke. No, the point is that it's crude and dumb and terrible, and so that's, like, you're supposed to have a viscerally bad reaction to it. If you can handle that, or if you don't mind that in your media, then I do think that Fujimoto is one to try out if you have not yet. Chainsaw Man is very, very, very good. I love it for a lot of different reasons. As I said, this isn't really a first impressions video as it were, but I do encourage people to try it if you haven't yet. Hopefully my opinions, my thoughts will encourage some of you to try this, or perhaps his previous work. Let me know your thoughts and feelings and opinions, whether you agree or disagree. Let me know in a comment below. I love reading them. You guys know this. If you are wanting to follow me more directly rather than just on my YouTube channel, you can also find me on Twitter. I will link my Twitter in the description as always down below. Let me know what you think. I know that a lot of people are reading this, and for good reason. Like, I think it's one that is very interesting, a lot of fun, but also heartbreaking and wonderful and funny and tragic and dumb and mixed up and really unlikable but really lovable at the same time. It's a very, very unique experience, especially for a Shonen Jump title. Yeah, so I would love to hear some people's thoughts, opinions, whatever, on this series in particular. But thank you guys so much for watching. As always, I am G from Simply G, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye till then.